You sent me this video of the future is polyamorous. What do you reckon about the future of relationships? Can you see that happening?
Yeah, 100%. I watched that video and honestly, it really opened up my eyes after I watched your podcast with Vincent. Yeah.
Haranam, yeah.
So you guys are discussing the sexual marketplace and how it's going to just get more and more cutthroat. So I made like a 1 hour video in response where I was just kind of like, just, gurgitating ideas and just seeing what would happen. And we're entering some dark times for young men. The fact that I think near the end of your podcast, you were really like started taking the back, thinking of like the seriousness of this problem. Like, I don't think we're just kind of chatting, oh yeah, how to get girls and everything. But this is maybe one of the biggest problems. Ending. Yeah, this quite literally is like a 10 out of 10 like disaster just waiting to like it's happening right now, and everyone's not really taking it serious because it's just like, like guys just want to get laid. But it's a huge problem. And the idea is, okay, what is going to happen in the future of dating? Well, relationships amongst young people and even sex is like, it's just going out of place. No one's really getting into like a monogamous, committed, long-term relationship. The people who are getting into monogamous relationships are often finding that their relationships end 6 to 12 months later, and they end in like infidelity and everything. And the idea is that women just keep, with hypergamous nature, they just keep wanting better and better and better men. And because the top men that all the women want are ruthlessly competitive, it's like this section of men, let's say the top 10%, is becoming ever harder to get into. Let's say 50 years ago, it was like he didn't stink and he had a car and all the girls were after him. And now it's like, you need everything. You need six pack. You've been training for 6 years in the gym. You need like the mental like confidence and the degree, graduate degree. You need everything these days as a man to like be in this top 10%. It's just going to get more and more ruthless. Women want the men in here. The thing is, the men in here don't just want one woman. If you're the guy who's essentially beaten 90-something% of other guys in terms of your characteristics, chances are, like, a lot of guys do say, like, oh no, it's just like, I just want one woman. If you had the ability to attract more than one woman, I think the overwhelming majority of guys would actually accept that proposal and be with 2 women instead in like, let's say in a dating market. And I think we're going to see this more and more. And I think Alexander Grace, the YouTuber who made that video of polygamy being normal, he had this fantastic point where he said that he thinks feminists are actually going to push this narrative, not men, because it's going to be like this sort of like new age fight for like more rights, in the sense where like women would rather be women. It's Rollo Tomasi's quote: "Women would rather share an alpha than be saddled with a fateful beta."
If that's the case, if the next frontier for feminism is opening up polyamorous relationships, or it's polygynous relationships technically, if that's the next frontier for them, I don't think that the future looks very good for civilization, because if that's a cause that women start to campaign for, that's the sort of thing that men are going to riot and kill about. And there's such a cool study. Had you ever seen that graph before? The one where what was that guy's name? The YouTuber?
Alexander Grace.
Yeah, where Alexander had found a graph that showed the relative number of men versus the relative number of women that were giving birth to children. Presumably this must be genetic data somehow. And you can see that from about 50,000 years ago until 10,000 years ago, it's relatively equal. Like, women are a little bit higher because on average, women are more successful at having children than men are. Women are a little bit higher, men are a little bit lower, but kind of tracking similarly. And then 10,000 years ago, the men just drop off a cliff, go to basically zero. It looks like which men are having children here? There's no one. And his argument was that during the agricultural revolution, what you had was the ability for men to accrue status and resources, which afforded them the ability to have huge harems of women that they could keep safe. But then what they realized was that it was an incredibly unstable society for men to be in. And I had an evolutionary biologist on the show, Joe Henrich, the other day, and he said that a lot of South Pacific islands and uncontacted tribes and stuff that have been studied, some of them have what's called it's like a geriatric, I think, or a gerific or something, which is the old people are the ones that are in charge. And men have to go through a number of rituals before they can marry. And often it keeps them until their 30s before they can got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. But what that leaves you with is a ton of available women that are captured by a bunch of old men, and then a shit ton of young men that are coming up that think, I've got to do my next ritual in 3 years' time. I can't get a woman at the moment because they've all been captured by these guys and these stupid rituals and this ideology that we've got. Fuck it, let's revolt. And it's just an inherently unstable society. So that's the thing. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that society when they actually look at it. Nobody wants the unstable, sexless underclass of men roaming the streets shit. Like, that's bad for absolutely everybody. And I don't know. I don't know if polygyny is as realistic as Alexander makes out, because modern notions of romanticism have skewed what women expect a lot. And I think that it's not sufficient for women in a relationship to simply get their fair share of resources. They actually want to feel emotional connection and time with their partner. And if you end up having, one man to 3 women or one man to 4 women, like, is 1/4 of that man's attention going to be enough for you? I'm not sure.
There's so many things to break down there, but the last point that you made, in terms of the media influencing, because that's huge. The media very, very heavily influences our dating and our sexual lives. And it was a realization that I had, let's say 50 years ago, Disney was a huge thing that pushed forward like the blue pill ideology and like the one-itis belief, like they got happily married, like happily ever after. What's very interesting is like that media is very, very different. Like, I don't consume much media, but I can almost like envision sort of like new age sitcoms and, like reality TV shows where it's like the modern stuff of the dating. You're seeing it in the show. You're going to see this one girl who like, she just had a drunken hookup with this guy who didn't text her back. And like, she wants this guy, but this guy's got this other guy. And maybe she'll go on a date and, they had a threesome together or something. You're beginning to see it because media influences us, but we also influence like the media. And of course, some random show that shows these dynamics is going to be quite relatable amongst a certain audience. So we are going to see like I don't watch it personally, but like I know for a fact there's going to be some TV shows that are like doing really well right now, which will have quite a prominent character being a part of this like modern new age dating.
Well, dude, think about what Love Island does. Love Island turns. I'm fucking a part of this problem, right? I understand that it's the pot calling the kettle black. They turn dating into a game. Like it is a game show first and foremost. After everything, after you've been through 6 weeks, there's been vote-offs, there's been surprise additions, there's been Casa Amor, people have come in, you've been worried about losing this partner, it's been this really intense experience, you've got a wicked tan, and at the very end, you've won, here's some celebrations, oh wait, now you get to play Would I Lie to You or Deal or No Deal, or Golden Balls. You get to do Split or Steal. And I've always been really interested about why that was there. And I asked the guys on my season, like, what was going on with that. But what it tells us, like, it's the final thing that you see on the entire season. You watch the whole season, it's the fucking parentheses, or it's the period at the end, right? The full stop is, will you split or steal this 50,000 quid? Which is a pointless exercise now, because the money that you make off the back of it, if you've made it to the end and you've won, is so much more. And if you were to steal, the amount of money that you would make from your Boohoo sponsorship would go through the floor, because you wouldn't have as much brand equity anymore, because you'd be the dick that stole 25 grand. It just reminds everyone that it's a game. That's what it does. It's a show that is called Love Island, that is ostensibly supposed to be about love. And at the end of it, it reminds everyone that actually it wasn't so much about the relationship. There was this game show element to it as well. That doesn't seem like a tremendously effective romantic way to teach young people about caring about their relationships. Everyone's swapping beds twice a week. New guys come in. Oh, I like it. I know I'm with him, but I like him. Or I know I'm with her, but I'm going to like, what does Rolo call it? Branch swinging? Yeah, I'm going to branch swing across this, or I'll dip my toe in and see whatever's going on. Fuck, man.
That's so interesting. A show called Love Island is heartless.